All right, we're here. We are live. We are live. Got a lot of cool stuff to cover today. D1 Baseball actually put out a prediction of the kind of field of 64 NCAA tournament. Maybe a little early for making those kind of judgments, but we're going to look at that. Um, some other stuff. Talk about Rentaro Sasaki a little bit. The Stanford Japanese phenom. Talk about some updates on some of the pitching staffs going into the opening weekend. Some news about some famous players that may or may not be eligible to play right away. So we're going to cover that all here soon. Wait for some of you guys to join a little bit longer. But that is what we're going to cover today. Let me put a little bit of music on here. It's like I either have it and I can't make it to where it's either like really quiet or it's loud. It's gonna be one of the two. All right, let's see here. Now let's see here. Let's look at this. We're gonna look at this field of 64 first, which is kind of what the predictions are. Again, obviously, like the the tough thing to predict is obviously the conference championship bids because in some of these mid-major in some of these mid-major conferences it's like pretty like there's two or three teams that are probably going to win it, but then you look at you look at like the Sun Belt or some of these other mid-major conferences, and I mean they're pretty deep, and so predicting who's going to win those is virtually impossible. But we're going to look at it anyway and just kind of see what the folks at D1 Baseball think the layout is going to be for the NCAA tournament coming up this summer. So let's take a look at it right now. Make sure you guys can read this. College baseball season is finally here, so it's time to look into the crystal ball and peek ahead to the NCAA tournament at the end of the season. Assuming everything goes as planned, which never happens, they're perfect. Here's our take on how the postseason field of 64 would look. The SEC leads all conferences with 12 bids to the NCAA tournament. That's 12 of 16 teams making the NCAA tournament. While the ACC is close behind with 10 bids. And again, these could flip, right? Both conferences are really deep and could be totally different. The new look Big 12 has 7 teams in our field. The Big 10 has 5, and the Sun Belt has 4, with the potential to add a couple more teams to the list by season's end. So, I mean, if you look at this, guys, just remember, I mean, the Sun Belt is basically projected to have the same amount of teams as the Big 10 in the college in the NCAA tournament. Big 12 at 7. So, I mean, the SEC and the ACC are significantly ahead as far as just the depth of the conference. And even D1 and the D1 baseball staff saying that Sunbelt has the potential to even add a couple more teams to this. So could be interesting. Again, like the Sunbelt is moving closer to it's going to be it's a conference that already is and will continue to grow how many just at large bids they get. Mark Etheridge, Kendall Rogers, and Aaron Fitt assemble our weekly projections. They have over 60 years of experience covering college baseball and assembling regional projections. Let's see here. Our weekly projections are presented by our proud partners at Tecovas, your ultimate source for boots, Western wear, and much more. I was about to say, is that some kind of data thing? All right, let's look here. So the D1 baseball field of 64 projections, preseason edition. So A&M projected number 1 overall seed, and we're going to go in order. A&M projected number 1 overall seed, Fresno State, Bryant, and TCU. Okay. Virginia number 2, West Virginia, Penn State, Richmond. That would be a tough regional. That would be a very tough regional. LSU, Southern Miss, UC Irvine, Lamar. Again, that would be a tough. I mean, that would be a pretty tough regional. Tennessee, Indiana, Louisville, Fairfield, UNC, North Carolina, UC Santa Barbara, Alabama, High Point, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Dallas Baptist, Missouri State, Wright State. That would be a very tough regional. I mean, this is like a nightmare scenario regional. Dallas Baptist, Wright State's going to hit bombs. Missouri State's always really good. I mean, that would be a tough regional. Oregon State, Stanford, Kansas, Southeast Missouri. Kansas is, I know Kansas has got some pretty good arms this year, so that would be tough. Florida State, Auburn, Louisiana, Bethune-Cookman. And then, I guess we got to go up from here. Georgia Regional. Georgia projected to host just outside of the national host contention. With Troy as the 2 seed, and that's, caveat of they have them picked as the conference champion. And then Georgia Tech, number 4 Ball State. Now, as a Georgia Tech fan and as a player, I can tell you that Georgia Tech typically, if Georgia Tech does not host, they go to like a top 3 seeds regional, which historically has been Florida, Tennessee, or Vandy. So if they go to Georgia, and they went to Georgia last year, and it's going to create it creates a really good vibe in the regional when there's like a massive rivalry inside the regional. So I think this would be really fun to watch. And I do think it's a better just overall regional when you have Georgia Tech in the same regional. Florida, Nebraska, San Diego, Stetson, Duke, Mississippi State, Coastal Carolina, Long Island. I mean, what is this? I mean, that's a brutal regional. Duke, Mississippi State, Coastal Carolina, Long Island. Okay, let me fix it. Let me fix it. Oh yeah, man, I'm a moron. All right, I just fixed it. Zach, thank you for telling me that. I just fixed it. Should work now. What's up, Zach? I accidentally clicked yes instead of no for the kids. All right. Yeah. See, I freed everyone now. Guys, you can talk now. Canes sent it to me as well. Zach and Canes are the real ones. Okay, so let's get back to it. Oregon. Yeah, I saw you DM me, Canes. I saw that. Eugene, what's up? Let's go. Canes, I also DM'd you, laugh out loud about it. Yeah, I know. I was wondering, dude, because I'm like, man, I can't believe no one's chatting. I was like, what's going on? This is weird. One day until showtime, baby. That's right. We had our team meeting today, and like literally at the end, we get off, and Pat Pinkman, our Mid-Atlantic advisor, he texts our group text, and he's like, college baseball tomorrow, baby. So yeah, I mean, we're all like, the thing is, like, we're all former players, former coaches, etc. But we're just fans of the game too, you know. And the Canes, here's a shout out to you. Actually, John Murphy, our Northeast guy, he goes, I feel like I know everything about Miami Hurricanes after Kyle's live streams. So, what's up, Cardboard? How you doing, man? Zach says that's because we're Canes fans. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and all of us at Elite Sports Advising now know everything about the Miami Hurricanes. All right, so NC State, Connecticut, tough. College of Charleston, Columbia, okay. Wake Forest, East Carolina, Texas Tech, Army, that would be a tough regional. Oklahoma State, Texas, Michigan, Oral Roberts, that would be a tough regional. Vandy, this would be a brutal regional. Vandy, Clemson, Arizona State, Samford. No Canes in the preseason field of 64, right? And again, the thing is, there's always like one or two teams that are projected to not be good that end up being pretty good. So, you know, I was watching an interview with Danny Hall yesterday, and he said that's why it's called preseason. Like, none of us knows what's going to happen. But this is D1 baseball's projected field. Again, this is not going to be accurate at all, generally speaking. just because so many of these teams are, some of these teams are going to end up being way worse than expected. Some teams not in here are going to be way better than expected. Um, Canes, also wanted to ask you what happened at the game on Tuesday. I had a feeling you didn't do last year because of the ball game. Oh, yeah. So our game got moved up because of rain. So I had to leave. I didn't have any time to do anything. Like, uh, because I had meetings in the morning and then had to leave to go for the get ready for the game and stuff. Here's what was eye opening to me is, when you watch high school players, one of the things that professionals are really good at, and even like really good college players is making adjustments. And you could, looking at what I've seen now, what you realize is that the reason that a lot of guys are professionals and become professional baseball players is because they can make adjustments quickly. Whether that's a mechanical adjustment or an approach adjustment or et cetera. What you find with a lot of high school hitters and even good high school hitters is that when you're talking to them about pretty easy to make kind of minor adjustments, it's very hard for them to do it. If you tell a kid, "Hey, I want you to gain ground forward," like you're not gaining any ground, you're not getting off your backside. Like we need to gain some ground forward. You'll watch them 20 reps in a row not gain any ground, and they think they're doing it. So there's a uh, there's an element of they just really don't understand how their body moves yet, and they don't have kind of the aptitude at that point in a lot of ways to make adjustments very quickly. So what I've found is that you have to really exaggerate the adjustment you want them to make, and then they'll do it in the smallest sense, right? Um, and so watching the game, what I'll say is that I do think in the high school game, I met with the team afterwards. We got beat, or so yesterday we had a meeting before practice, and I said, hey, this kid, tell me your approach. Tell me your approach. Tell me your approach. What's your approach to the plate? And they're saying things like, I just want to see the ball, want to be aggressive, trying to track it, um, looking for a good pitch. And I'm like, guys, that's not an approach. Like those are all things you should be doing. That's not an approach. An approach is like, all right, what am I looking for? Where am I looking for it? What part of the zone? What pitch? What am I going to do with it? Like that's an approach. So we had that discussion. We have a game tomorrow. We got rained out yesterday and today. One of the games will be tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see tomorrow. But I still will be able to stream tomorrow and do kind of a watch party with the which game is it? Clemson, Oklahoma State at 12 p.m. We'll be doing that up until I have to leave. So we should be good doing that. So that'll be exciting. Can't wait to have you guys watching along with me. In that video, I DM'd you about two of the top teams down here playing. One of our commits is a third baseman on one of the teams, and his fielding was absolutely horrible. He's also ranked a top 90 overall player and top 100 MLB draft prospect. Also went 0 for 2 with 2 Ks against a D1 pitcher who's going to Arizona State, throwing 91-93. Don't know what to make of it. Definitely not good, I think. What I would say is that, listen, like every freshman, generally speaking, no matter how talented, goes through a adjustment period in that freshman fall because you're facing guys, like you said, that are 91, 93 on pretty much every day. And so there's virtually a lot of freshmen. There's some struggle that goes on in those first 2 or 3 weeks of inter squads or a week or two because you're not used to facing velo like that every time up. And so him going over 2 with 2 Ks, that doesn't scare me. I would have to watch the at bat to understand how he struck out. Was he chasing balls out of the zone? Was he way late? Was he just missing the ball? Like you can strike out and it not be a red flag, or you can strike out and it be a big red flag. It's just a matter of how it happens. And so I wouldn't be too worried about that. And again, on defense, I mean, kids in general are just not as good at defenders anymore. The difference between a high school shortstop who's just like your normal high school shortstop and like a normal college shortstop is pretty big. The difference is massive. So watching guys defend in high school, this guy who's a third baseman in particular, may end up being a corner outfielder, if he can't cut it there. Maybe end up being a first baseman or a DH. This is high school, though. No, I understand it's high school, but what I'm saying is he's facing an arm that is the equivalent of a college arm he will face his freshman fall. In that it's not like, yeah, here's the thing. Most guys, they get to college and they can't cut it, right? That doesn't mean that's going to be the case for him, but he definitely, that's an adjustment. Facing a guy that sits 91, 93 is an adjustment. And most guys, I did myself, you go through that adjustment period. And the question is, how long does that adjustment period take? So I wouldn't look too hard into it yet, but it is, something to watch. And again, it's not about striking out. It's about how are you striking out? Are you missing pitches you should hit? Are you just chasing stuff out of the zone? That may be an approach issue. That may be just kind of an issue of plate discipline issue. That is hard to coach. So like the 2Ks, you don't like it, but you could be like, man, he just missed a few of those pitches and this guy's really good. That, so it's not, you're not going to be, oh, this is a red flag. Whereas, if he's swinging and missing at a lot of stuff that he shouldn't be, and he's missing it by a lot and chasing stuff out of the zone, it becomes a totally different issue. For sure. I understand now. Okay, good. All right, let's see some of this other stuff here. Okay, so here's some news from Aaron Fitt. Let me stream this here. All right, so up here on the top right of the screen, if you're watching, let me zoom in a little bit here. All right, top right of the screen. Quick note, not this right here in the middle. Quick note on preseason number 2, Virginia, ace Evan Blanco, a second-team preseason All-American, hit a snag in his preseason throwing program and is still building up, so he will not pitch this weekend. He's expected to pitch in game action next week. So with that, what I would get from that is he tweaked something, and they're planning on getting him kind of out of the bullpen next week, an inning or two, just to see how he holds up. So if you're Virginia, what you're doing now is you're not starting a game until maybe the weekend before ACC play. If everything goes well, maybe not even until opening weekend of ACC play, depending on who the opponent is. But you're certainly not going to rush Evan Blanco back until ACC play, right? Right now, the goal is for him to be at 100% during ACC play. So he may start weekend before ACC play and throw 3 or 4 innings and go, okay, everything's good. Now you're up to full speed now that we're in ACC play. But this is definitely a big hit to Virginia if this is something that continues to nag at him for the rest of the season, because he is their Friday ace, one of the best pitchers in the country. And, again, you lose a guy like that, your team is significantly worse. And that doesn't mean you lose one guy, you can make up for it. But again, you're not, you do not want to play the season without your number one. And again, if he re-aggravates this thing or whatever, and it turns into a 2-3 month, maybe he's back by ACC tournament, I don't know, but that's going to impact their hosting chances, their overall seeding, if they lose their Friday guy for most of the year, right? So this is something to keep an eye on as it's developing. They're probably already down in Puerto Rico right now for their tournament. So that's number 1 on the list. Kane says, wow. Yeah, it's a big, that's big, right? Because what this means, if he's still going to pitch next week, and like I said, from the wording of this, what I gather from it is that he's going to be pitching, an inning or two, and just to see how he holds up. It's probably not a major issue, but it could be kind of one of those nagging injuries that just continues to just wear and tear at you. So they're going to be very slow in getting him back to, Friday night, 100 pitches type start. And again, they're probably not going to really fully unleash him until ACC play if he is healthy at that point. Because again, you do well, you go 20-10 in ACC play, you're a national seed. So that's what the focus is going to be for them. They have to hope it is not a Cam Leiter situation at FSU. Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to deal with these. And I'll some more news. So I was watching Danny Hall's interview, Georgia Tech's head coach, just about the team and kind of expectations for the year. And one of the questions a reporter asked was like, are there any position battles that are still up for grabs? And he kind of alluded to the fact that something happened this week. I don't know what, but he said, I'll put it this way: there's going to be some guys playing this weekend that we didn't expect to play. I'll leave it at that. So I don't know if that means injury issues or something else, but it seems like when it comes to the position player group for Georgia Tech, there may be a few guys playing that, or that means they've come on so strong in the spring that they've taken over spots that the coaching staff didn't foresee happening. So those are the two possibilities for Georgia Tech. You either had a couple guys, he said multiple guys. So what I gather is either two guys really just showed out in the spring in just won jobs, or at least won the job to start the year, or they've had something go down with injuries or something else where they're going to have to play. They're going to have to play other different guys for a certain amount of time. So we'll have to wait and see for tomorrow's lineup how that looks. But I can tell you, Dusty Isaacs, Dusty. Dusty Isaac says, I know what happened at GT. I'm sure Dusty was working out in the weight room this morning and maybe heard. But Dusty, if you want to say it, you can. I'm probably going to reach out and just kind of see what that was. I was watching the interview yesterday, and I listened to that part, and I'm like, that's either, something went down and a couple guys that were expected to play are not going to play, whether injury or some behavioral thing or, I don't know, grades, or two guys came out of nowhere and just balled out all this early spring and kind of won jobs. If you want to kind of fill us in or give us a general idea of where am I wrong and where am I right, is it injuries or is it something else? Just go with that. I did, Dusty, I turned the YouTube chat back on. That was an accident. That was a mess up by me. The YouTube chat is working now. Maybe the website I sent you has inside info. Yeah, hey, that's true, Canes. Maybe those guys, they got someone deep inside the baseball, the baseball game, because maybe they knew something we didn't at the time. So Dusty, if you want to, fill us in. Dusty Isaacs, can you believe that Georgia Tech is projected to lose the series to Old Dominion? Yeah, that is. Kane sent me from some betting website, like Old Dominion is projected to win the series. Straight up. Breaking, guys, more news. And Dusty, don't be afraid to let me know, what you know. I'll call you later and we'll talk. And if you wanted to keep it confidential, we will. If you don't want to divulge what's going on. Or else I'll just call, one of the guys. I think ODU is going to be a tough weekend, to be honest. Tell us why you think that. Okay, here, guys, and while we wait for Dusty's reply. From the Vol Report, breaking: Tennessee's newest incoming transfer, Alberto Ozuna, has filed a lawsuit against the NCAA. So he was basically denied the waiver, the JUCO waiver, to play so far. So we got 1 day until opening day, and he has not been cleared to play. So right now, if the season started today, he would not be playing for Tennessee. Now he's filed lawsuit. Again, I would imagine they may even say, you know what, until the lawsuit and the decision is made, he's allowed to play. But this will be his 6th year in college baseball. He spent 2 years at junior college, 3 years at UNC. The reason he left UNC is because he had no more eligibility, went down to Tampa, and then all these changes started happening. So he enrolled at Tennessee 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago. And now he's, in limbo waiting for this decision to be made. Dusty says, check out their arms from last year. No, yeah, I actually, when Kane sent me that DM about the kind of the projected, what these betting websites were saying, I did that a very thing. I went and looked at their arms and stuff. I'm like, they must have a really good starting pitcher or something who's, going to favor them on Friday. And they do seem, I mean, they're going to be, again, guys, remember a lot of these mid-major schools are getting better and better because the Power Fours are passing on a lot of high school talent and going after the portal guys. So a lot of these mid majors are getting better high school players overall because of all these changes. Show the website sometime during this stream to see what has updated. Their algorithm changes every couple of hours. Should have stayed at Tampa. Well, I mean, just to be honest, Jared, what's up, man? Just to be honest, I think he's going to end up being granted eligibility. Now, who knows when that'll happen? But I would not. It would not surprise me at all if sometime tomorrow we hear that the judge has basically granted him a waiver until the case is decided and he can play, or maybe they say, you know what, yeah, he can play. But with the way everything else has gone, I just don't see them denying him the ability to play with how all these other guys have gotten it. All right, so here in this article by Bradley Smart, I'm not going to click on it and read through the whole thing, but this is a quote I think from Link Jarrett. It says, it seems like now in college baseball, it's hard to go through a week and not see a little bit of everything. I think you have to be that versatile in today's game. On openers, one time through, traditional starting pitchers, here's how coaches piece it together. Now, I actually was having a conversation with the guy about this yesterday and kind of how college coaches determine the ranking of their starting pitchers. And, and for the example I gave is like, if you don't have a true number one, and let's say your Friday guy is really like a number two on most teams, there's no point in throwing him on Friday because you're pairing him up against a true number one. You're going to be at a massive disadvantage. Whereas if you pair him up on Saturday, you're way more likely to at least have a chance of winning that game. And then, you pair your Sunday against a Sunday. But what a lot of, what some coaches will do is they're like, well, he's our Friday guy, we're going to pitch him. It's like, well, if he's not nearly as good as most Friday guys, are you going to win most of the time on Friday if you're doing that? Probably not. And so now what you're seeing are guys, depending on their starting pitching and their rotation, you may have, Sunday, you may have not really one guy that stands out to be the Sunday guy. Well, why don't you just go with an opener and have a guy throw like 2 innings or 3 innings, and then you kind of just ride the bullpen from there. I mean, we're seeing that happen more and more in college baseball because if you don't have a guy who's a proven starter who's going to throw strikes, you can't trust him, then why are you throwing him out there and expecting a different result? And that website isn't a betting website. They just run their own projections and predictions for each game. But they give over and unders, Canes. They give over unders and everything. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think about now. You're right. Let's see here. Let me stop sharing my screen. Yeah, so Dusty brings up a good point. It's the Dusty Isaacs versus Carlos Rodon special. So when Carlos Rodon was a freshman, he was their Saturday starter. And their Friday guy was actually I think he was a junior or senior, like pretty veteran arm. Nothing really stuck out, but he threw strikes. He could, with 3 pitches, he was a good pitcher. But I think NC State's strategy and kind of what Dusty's alluding to is like, we're going to fit. Rodon he was a Friday guy as a freshman. He was 94, 96, and to even higher with a hammer breaking ball, hammer slider. And so he would have been a Friday guy on most teams, but NC State pitched him on Saturday because I think the thinking went into it was like, he's going to be better than every Saturday guy we face. So we're going to win Saturday almost every game. And if we can steal a win on Friday, now we're going to win a lot of series. They didn't want to throw Rodon against Buck Farmer. Yeah, so if you're running, the thing is, right, there's so much that goes into this. Like, if you have a legit ace Friday guy, like a Buck Farmer was for us, or Carlos Rodon was for NC State, the question then becomes based on like the depth of your rest of your starting pitchers is like, do we want to go ace on ace and just best man wins, or do we throw a guy who's still a really good pitcher? He may not have those ace qualities as far as like wipeout stuff, like elite fastball, but he's a low to mid 90s, throws strikes type guy. And we're talking kind of at the power four level here, or a low 90s guy with a really good changeup. You know what I'm talking about, who can beat a lot of good teams. The question then goes, do you go ace on ace, or do you go number two on ace and then your ace on their number two, and then 3-on-3? It's all about just how much you trust your starting pitchers to go at least 5 innings effectively and not give up a lot of runs. And then what's your bullpen look like? So NC State in particular, I think they, it's believe they may have the best bullpen in the country. So they're going to ride their bullpen more than a team who doesn't have that much strength in their bullpen. So you're going to see NC State maybe use an opener sometimes. You're going to see them go to the bullpen in the 4th inning sometimes when you don't expect it, because that's their strength. And you want to utilize your strength as much as possible. If your bullpen's not good, but you have really good starters, you're going to try to ride those guys in the 7th inning or 8th inning because you just don't trust your bullpen. You don't want to be utilizing the weaknesses on your team as much as possible. So it all goes into that decision. Dusty, I'm still waiting for you to say a general thing of what Coach Hall was referring to when he said, I'll say it like this. There's going to be some guys playing that probably aren't expected. The people want to know. The people want to know, Dusty. I know you were in there getting the inside scoop this morning in the weight room. I can guarantee it. I know how you are. I think Dusty's going to be silent on us, guys. I'm going to have to call him after the stream and figure out what's going on. And again, if he wants to keep it confidential, we will keep it that way. Or else I'll just have to go in myself. But guys, one of the things, so here's the interesting thing, and I wanted to talk about this as well. Which games tomorrow are you most excited for? That website is a firm believer in Boston College losing to South Carolina Upstate. Let me go to the website. Actually, let me go to that website. You didn't send me the web. Okay, I'm looking at it right now, Canes. Oh my God, there's so many ads on this page. Oh my gosh. I can't even see things because the website is ACC games only. Oh, okay, it's interesting. I feel like I'm getting sick again. Oh my gosh, this is just annoying. All right, I can't really see. I got to just zoom out. All right. So Oklahoma State is dude, what is going on? Oklahoma State projected to beat Clemson 7-6. Virginia projected to beat Michigan 8-4. It's probably going to be worse than that. Actually, they're not throwing their ace, so who knows. Pittsburgh projected to beat Eastern Michigan. North Carolina State projected to beat Fordham. Boston College projected to lose to South Carolina Upstate. What I'll say is about, dude, USC Upstate is nasty. Like, they're very good. They hit bombs. It is a hitter's paradise at their stadium. So it's going to be a question if the Boston College speed offense is going to be able to produce enough runs in Todd Interdonato's second year. But Upstate is going to hit bombs. So, like, you're going to have to score a lot of runs to beat them. Wake Forest projected to beat Long Island. We know that. North Carolina projected to destroy Texas Tech 9-1. Georgia Tech is now projected to win 11-4. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what I don't know how you can make that big of a shift. That seems a little bit weird. Duke projected to beat Cincinnati at home 9-8. Okay. Virginia Tech projected to beat Bucknell 14-3 or 13-3. Florida State projected to lose to James Madison at home. Florida State's the number 9 team in the country, and there's all right, Canes. What are these guys doing? Because Florida State has the best starting pitcher in the country pitching on Friday, and they're projected to lose to James Madison. GT is projected to win big now. Yep. I'm a UVA fan, so looking forward to the UVA versus Michigan game. Yeah, that'll be yeah, and that's at 1 p.m. So we can scroll over and watch that one a little bit tomorrow too. See what's going on there. Notre Dame is projected to beat North Florida 9-5. Miami's projected to squeak out a win against Niagara 7-6. Texas projected to beat Louisville 7-6. Cal projected to stomp Nevada 11-3. And Stanford is projected to lose on the road to Cal State Fullerton 5-3. Interesting. Okay, yeah, so I see the ACC. You can change it and everything. FSU isn't losing to JMU with Jamie Arnold pitching. JMU may not get a hit. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand how that can be that far off. Like, you're exactly right, Zach. Like, Jamie Arnold is one of those pitchers that he's going to dominate every team he pitches against. So the idea that like JMU's the favorite with the best pitcher in college baseball on the other team is crazy. Let's see here. The Upstate game has me interested. No, I mean, just dude, if you watch that game, the Upstate is going to be very good. Like I said, they churn out really good hitters. They hit bombs. Like they're going to be very good. You said same with the Notre Dame game. Let me look. Notre Dame not projected to win 9-5 at North Florida. I have Louisville winning against Texas. What's your reasoning behind that? I don't think it's going to be I think it'll be close games because Louisville's a good team, even though they're not in the top 25. They're a top 40 team. So these are going to be a lot of these matchups are going to be close, especially between the ACC and the SEC and everything. But I do think Texas has this slight edge. It's a neutral site. It is down it's down in Texas, in Houston, I believe. So, a little bit easier travel for Texas. But it's going to be exciting, guys. We got college baseball starting tomorrow. Be on the lookout I have another motor preferences video coming out tonight. We're going to talk about axial and large in the distinction between the two in that motor preference category. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be coming out tonight. And then, tomorrow tomorrow the season begins. So we will start the coverage of college baseball and what's going on and how players are making, if they're making the right decisions and going over video and stuff like that. So it should be fun. Louisville has the best pitcher in the nation, in my opinion. Who? He ain't better than Jamie Arnold. Cap, what's up, man? Welcome to the chat. Cap says Stanford will win. Yeah, I mean, I think Rintaro Sasaki may hit 2 bombs and lead the Stanford team to the win. Are you talking about Forbes, Canes? Patrick Forbes? Who are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, no, Louisville's going to have a good starting rotation. No doubt about that. I don't know if he's the best pitcher in the country, but he's very good. So you're right. I mean, the Friday game should be a good one. And they have depth starting pitching. So Louisville's got a chance to make noise in that early season kind of tournament, round robin style tournament. Thanks for that text, babe. No, I mean, that's a good point, Canes. I do think it's going to be close. Like, then if you're just looking at pure rankings, you're like, oh, Texas is going to dominate that game. But Louisville's a lot better than I think they're getting given credit for. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow. Remember, probably a little bit earlier for everything, the watch party and stuff. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, check out that video coming out later tonight.